Guys, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, especially if you're a UFC fan. Look, Leon Edwards got the big W last night. I've got my congratulations and all that other stuff out the way. Now, on to the rematch, the trilogy fight with Kamaru Usman. Usman had a victory over him coming into the fight. Now Edwards has one over him. Now, he really earned that nickname Rocky last night. He got the Rocky because he was getting beat up out of nowhere. Click, done. So, you know, absolutely, he can beat him again. I think he will beat Kamaru Usman again, Obviously, the altitude was a factor for Leon Edwards. I don't think it was a factor for Kamaru. I think Kamaru trains in that all the time or something like that. Because I was watching the fight, and I think Cormier or Rogan said something about Kamaru Usman has trained in that altitude a lot, and Leon hadn't. So it was obvious that that's why the wrestling looked as bad as it did. I'm not saying his wrestling wasn't better than Leon's. I think if they ever fought again, the wrestling advantage is still Kamaru Usman. It just isn't that bad. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So I think he'll beat him again when they fight. I don't think he'll knock him out again. I think Kamaru's going to be more cautious on the feet. Excuse me. I think Kamaru's going to actually wrestle more and stand up less. That's what Kamaru's going to look to do when they fight again. I don't think he's going to stand with him again like that. Kamaru really made a mistake at the end of that fight. When he had that fight, he should have put Leon against the cage and just taken advantage of the fact that he was tired from the altitude. Obviously, altitude is what made it look bad. Excuse me, and just ride the clock out. That's what he should have done. But oh well, things happen. Leon deserves to be champion, like I said. But I don't think he's gonna get the chance to do that in the third fight because now that knockout happened, that's gonna be in the back of Kamaru's head. So I think for this fight, Leon needs to have a similar strategy. He needs to be able to, if he can, take Kamaru down at least once or twice and try to keep Kamaru down. When they're standing, he needs to do what he did last night: pick him apart, move. Don't get caught with anything big. Keep the good head movement. I wouldn't change anything with the stand-up department for Leon. And just, excuse me, do better at defending takedowns. He got taken down like 7 or 8 times, however much it was. If he can hold Kamaru to taking him down 2 or 3 times, like I said in the second fight, but the first video I made about this for Leon to win this fight and just keep the fight standing and can continue to get the better of it, I think Leon should win that fight when they fight again. I know I made a Masvidal fight prediction video for Leon, and you're thinking, why would he even talk about Masvidal? Well, Masvidal and him had an incident 3 years ago in London, and Leon publicly said that the first guy he wants to fight if he beats Usman is Masvidal and give him that fight in the same place where it happens. So that's why I made that prediction video. And it would be a big payday for Leon. So, it makes sense. But now this fight makes sense because this is a trilogy fight. And it's a winnable fight for Kamaru Usman. Very winnable for him. But it's also a very winnable fight for Leon Edwards. I don't think this will be a finished fight. I don't think this fight will be a finish. I think it goes to decision, like I said before last night's fight actually happens. I think the grappling will be a lot closer than what it looked like simply because of the altitude. We've seen guys like Cain Velasquez. Shout out to Cain Velasquez. Free Cain Velasquez, by the way. He didn't do anything wrong. I think the altitude has affected Cain before. You saw the same thing with Leon, but Leon was just determined more in that fight than Cain was, I guess, if that makes sense. 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when he lost to Fabricio. Again, he didn't do a terrible job defending. And again, I noticed something that the coach said: stop feeling sorry for yourself. It looked like at one point he was feeling sorry for himself, Mentally, he has to understand, hey, I'm in this fight. This guy might be a better wrestler or grappler, but the gap, okay, it wasn't this much. Probably this much, I think Colby's the best wrestler in the welterweight division. It's not Kamaru. Kamaru's second. I think Leon showed enough last night to say, okay, I think I can at least slow him down. And if I keep the fight standing, I will win this fight. I think Leon will win an amazing rematch. 48-47 unanimous decision. Some judge might mess around and say Usman should win it, and it'll still be a split decision for Leon Edwards. But I think Usman wins I think Leon Edwards wins a unanimous decision. 48-47, 48-47. I think he'll do enough to slow down Usman's wrestling this time. The altitude probably won't be a factor in this fight. I think Leon might get another takedown, maybe two, to kind of even out the wrestling a little bit, or at least not make the gap so big like it was last night. And I think Leon will get the better of the stand-up in this fight again. I know Usman was clipping him pretty good, but I think Leon was a little bit better at the stand-up last night. And obviously, because he knocked him out. I just don't think Kamaru. I just think the knockout is going to be in the back of his head too much into this fight, and now he's not going to have that aura of invincibility. I'm not going to say Usman was arrogant, but I think all fighters like Anderson Silva and all the other guys have gone through that where, you know what, no one can touch me, almost like that. But I think Usman's more humble than that, excuse me. So, again, I think he'll be Leon will be the better striker. I think he'll do enough to kind of even out or at least slow down the wrestling from Usman. And he's going to keep his distance like he did. That's how he had the success up until the knockout that he did have, was the keeping his distance, because he has long arms and can use the leg kicks more. I'd throw in more body kicks if I was Leon. That was working pretty well last night from low key. I'd use some short distance punches. I actually would not clinch with Usman too much, because Usman has big uppercuts. He got caught a few times. That could be a red flag in the rematch, in the trilogy fight. So if Leon does these things, which I think he does do, he wins this fight 48-47.